He was born enslaved. His mother was taken from him as an infant. His father died before he was born. He was so sickly as a child that nobody expected him to survive. Yet George Washington Carver became one of America's greatest scientists. He transformed agriculture. He lifted millions from poverty. He changed the course of history. And he did it all through an unshakable faith in God. This is the story of an impossible life and how faith made it possible. George Washington Carver was born around 1864 in Diamond, Missouri, into slavery. His mother was enslaved on the Carver plantation. His father died in an accident before George was born, and his mother was sold away when he was just days old. George and his older brother were raised by Susan and Moses Carver, the white couple who owned the plantation. They cared for him as their own, but the racial barriers were immense. George wanted education, but schools wouldn't accept a black child. He had to travel miles to find anyone willing to teach him. Despite these obstacles, Carver was determined. He attended a school for black children in Kansas, then made his way through high school and college extraordinary for someone of his race in that era. He was rejected from Simpson College for being black, so he went to Iowa State University. The college accepted him. Again, he was the only black student. By age 27, Carver had earned a degree in agricultural science, a remarkable achievement for someone born enslaved, with virtually no resources, facing constant discrimination. His professors recognized his brilliance and offered him a teaching position at Iowa State. But Carver turned it down. He had a different calling. In 1896, Booker T. Washington, the principal of Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, invited Carver to join the faculty. Tuskegee was a school for black students, a place dedicated to lifting African Americans through education and practical skills. Washington offered Carver a position directing the agricultural department. It was a humble position compared to what Carver could have earned elsewhere, but Carver accepted immediately. He felt called by God to serve his people. For 47 years until his death in 1943, Carver worked at Tuskegee. He never left. He never sought fortune or fame for himself. His motivation was explicit and rooted in faith. Carver wrote, "I have had the privilege of meeting the Master through nature and receiving his daily communications." For Carver, serving others through science was serving God. His work wasn't just agriculture. It was ministry. He lived humbly, took a minimal salary, and poured everything into helping poor farmers, especially black farmers, in the devastated South escape poverty through agricultural innovation. When Carver arrived at Tuskegee, Southern agriculture was in crisis. The cotton industry had exhausted the soil. Farmers were trapped in poverty. Carver recognized a solution: crop rotation. By planting nitrogen-fixing crops like peanuts and sweet potatoes instead of cotton, farmers could restore soil health and diversify income. But farmers resisted. They said they didn't know how to grow peanuts or how to sell them. Carver decided to solve both problems. He conducted experiments. He developed improved peanut varieties. And then, most importantly, he found uses for them. Carver discovered that peanuts could be processed into hundreds of products: peanut butter, peanut oil, peanut flour, peanut milk, and dozens more. He also developed uses for sweet potatoes, starches, dyes, flour, cosmetics, and industrial products. Carver compiled bulletins showing farmers exactly how to grow these crops and process them into profitable products. The impact was revolutionary. Farmers across the South began planting peanuts. Poverty decreased. Economic opportunity opened for poor farmers who had been trapped in cotton cultivation. Yet Carver never patented his discoveries. He never sought profit. When Thomas Edison offered him a lucrative position and salary, Carver declined. When Henry Ford repeatedly tried to hire him away from Tuskegee, Carver refused. His answer was always the same. His calling was to serve God by serving poor farmers. Money and fame didn't matter. What made Carver different from other scientists was the centrality of his Christian faith. Carver was a devout believer. He prayed daily. He attended church faithfully. His faith wasn't private. It informed everything he did. He believed God had called him to specific work, serving poor farmers and lifting people from poverty through science. Carver wrote, "The more I study the works of the Creator, the more I am filled with awe. I cannot explain why he is so wonderfully kind, yet I understand him better in the realm of nature than in that of theology." For Carver, science was a spiritual practice. Understanding nature was understanding God's design. Using that knowledge to help others was worship. He also believed in racial reconciliation. In a deeply segregated South, Carver refused bitterness or resentment over the racism he faced. He invited white farmers and black farmers to his demonstrations. He taught everyone. He believed education and science could bridge the racial divide. His faith produced radical generosity. Despite his brilliance and demand, he lived simply. He gave away what little he had. He invested everything in others' futures. Carver's refusal of lucrative offers came with a cost. He remained poor throughout his life. He never married. He never accumulated wealth or property. He lived in a small cottage on the Tuskegee campus. He gave most of his modest salary away to help struggling students and poor farmers. Yet Carver never regretted these choices. He found meaning not in wealth, but in service. Purpose, not possessions, fulfilled him. His impact was staggering. Millions of farmers learned his techniques. Millions escaped poverty. The agricultural economy of the South was transformed. Carver also became an advocate for racial justice, not through anger, but through demonstrated brilliance and Christian grace. He showed that race was irrelevant to intellectual ability. He proved that a black man could be a world-class scientist. He modeled how education and faith could overcome social barriers. The honors eventually came. Tuskegee gave him the title Director of Research. Universities awarded him honorary doctorates. In 1951, 8 years after his death, the U.S. Congress designated his birthplace a national monument of first such honor for an African American. But Carver would have cared more about the farmer who escaped poverty or the student whose life was transformed through his teaching. George Washington Carver died on January 5, 1943. At age 78, he was still working, still teaching, still serving. His legacy lives in every farmer who uses crop rotation to restore soil. It lives in the billions of dollars generated by the peanut industry he pioneered. Most importantly, it lives in the lives changed by his vision that science should serve the poor, that education should transcend race, and that faith should inspire generosity. In a nation built on slavery and racial injustice, Carver offered an alternative: reconciliation through shared humanity, advancement through knowledge, hope through faith. He proved something profound. Obstacles aren't limitations, they're invitations to greater faith. Born enslaved, orphaned, facing constant racism, Carver could have been defeated. Instead, he became one of America's greatest scientists all because he trusted God and committed himself to service. His story is a rebuke to those who claim victimhood is permanent. It's an inspiration to anyone facing impossible odds. Carver's life shows that faith doesn't excuse you from struggle, but it equips you to overcome it. George Washington Carver looked at neglected soil and saw possibility. He looked at poor farmers and saw potential. He looked at an unjust society and saw opportunity for change. His faith never wavered. His purpose never faltered. He refused wealth to serve others. He refused bitterness despite injustice. He refused to believe his circumstances defined his destiny. Carver proves that the greatest genius serves others, that true success means lifting people up, that faith isn't an escape from difficult realities, it's the foundation for transforming them. What do you think? Does Carver's example inspire you? Comment below. Subscribe for more stories about scientists whose faith changed the world. And remember, no obstacle is too great when you trust God and commit to serving others. Thanks for watching.